Hello again, guys. And girls. So today we're going to go over a few things, and if you haven't noticed, my video and webcam are now up in the top right hand corner as opposed to the bottom right, because there are a few things I showed last video that were hidden by my webcam, and so we are going to take another look at those and then go over a few more basic things about Linux, and then we'll touch more on basics next video, and then after that we should be good to start getting into some of the tools and different things you'll need for some of the security features built in. So for starters, let's look at the system tray and actually this taskbar. Now for those that are used to Windows or Mac or things like that, you're used to having your and you're used to a graphical interface. You have seen the system tray, your quick launch bar, and then your little start menu down here. Now, the difference between Linux and some of your others, Linux actually has your different desktops. So I can open up a window here and go to this desktop and it'll be completely clean. Go back here and your window's there again. So with Linux and with Parrot, since that's what we're going over, that is one of the things. It's kind of nice because then you can run, if you have something that needs to run and you can't close your terminal window, you can just throw it on a different desktop and it's out of sight, and you don't have to risk closing it by accident. Now, what I wanted to show you as a repeat of last week, since my camera webcam was covering it, is the system tray. In your system tray, you have, by standard and base install, 3 icons. You have your network connections, your clipboard, and your audio. Now you can add different widgets if you have different things that are in the system tray but hidden. You can see them all here, status and notifications, and then you also have your clock and your date time. And this icon for your network will change based on whether or not you're on Wi-Fi or hardwired or whatever the case may be. Now, and I hope this is big enough for you to see even if you're on mobile. Now what I want to show you is a few things about the system. First, we're going to go over how to view your IP address. You can do it through that little network icon down there. There's ways to get into it, but as I prefer the terminal in Linux, we're going to go over some of the ways in there, and these become invaluable, especially if you're doing things like VulnHub Labs or your OSCP, PWK, where you have to show your IP address. And also because if you're doing things like Hack the Box or if you're doing a pen test, you want to know what your IP address is. So there's 2 ways you can see it. You can do ifconfig, which is your IF configuration, and that'll show your IP address. If you add the all switch to, or the all config-a, if you're running more interfaces than what's viewable in ifconfig, this would show all of them. The other way you can do it is IPA, gives you your IP addresses for your interfaces. If you're on a VPN, you will see your other interface would be ton 0. If you're on wireless, you would see WLAN 0. And as you increase the number of connections, if you have multiple networking cards or multiple wireless adapters, whatever the case may be, multiple VPNs, that 0 changes to a 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay, so now that we've gone over the basics of how to see your IP address and recovered what's in the system tray, I want to show you a few things and take you through some Linux basics that you may or may not know, but hopefully this gives you some more information. And the first thing being the file system. So if we go into the root of the file system and just do an ls-la, where we can see all of them, as you can see here, you have quite a bit in the basic root file structure. Now we're not going to go over everything. We're just going to go over a few of the more basic, well not basic, but more of the most utilized file directories and things like that. So /bin, or in this case it's a symlink to user bin, is where all your binaries are. So any of your applications. So if you were to type in nmap or aircrack-ng, recon-ng, or any of the applications you may have installed, this is where they're stored and will allow them to run. You also have boot, which is which is your kernel image. You have /dev, which is your special device files. So normally your SDA SDB. So any hard drives you have recognized will be there. If we have Etsy, Etsy is all your system config files. Home is your home directories for all your users, with the exception of root. So Parrot, that directory is in home, and we'll see that in a minute. We have root, which is down here, and that is your super user home directory. You have mount, or MNT, which is where any file systems that you attach. So if you were to attach an external hard drive or something like that, a lot of times they'll get mounted to that directory or within that directory. And then you have /media, which when we did the VirtualBox guest editions install, we saw that in media we had CD-ROM and CD-ROM 0, and that is where your media will attach to. USB drives do on occasion as well. And then library, or lib, is where all of your shared libraries are. They're kind of the equivalent of Windows DLLs. And then you also have /user, which if we scroll down here, you have /user, and that is where you have user bin, user sbin, and user lib. And again, those are just binaries and libraries that are a little further down in the file structure. All right, so what do we do if we don't know where we're at? Now in Parrot, the beauty of the way Parrot operates and the way the default bash terminal is set up is it'll actually show you where you're at that point in time. So anytime you see that little tilde up in the corner, that means you're in your home directory. This right here. So if you see that, that means you're in home. But if you don't know what your home directory is, you can type pwd, and that will print your working directory. So if you see the tilde, you're like, I don't know what a home directory is. Type in pwd, you'll see that. If we switch to a different directory, let's say Etsy, it switches to /Etsy. But let's say you have a bash terminal where you don't know, or it doesn't show you what directory you're in. You can do pwd, and there it is. Following that, one of the other things we want to go over is how can you tell who you are? Now, again, Parrot, the beauty of the base bash terminal is it tells you who you are. It says Parrot at Parrot. So my username is Parrot, and I just so happen to name the system Parrot. But if you wanted to check, say you were logged into another system and wanted to see what user you were logged in as, maybe you're doing some security work or something like that, or pen testing, or doing CTFs, anything of that nature, you can do a who am I, and it will tell you exactly who you are. Another thing you can do is type ID. ID will give you the permissions and groups that you're a part of, and you will see that it has Parrot in there as the UID, Parrot in there as the group ID, and again in the groups, as well as any other groups that you may be a part of. Moving on, we have a few other things to look at. So you've seen me use CD quite a bit, and all that does is change directories. Now if we go to CD home, CD, or Parrot, we're in our home directory. And again, if you just type it CD enter, it'll take you to your home directory as well. What you may not know how to do is how to change levels. Now if you saw when I did ls-l, ls-la because it's dots, up here you see 1 dot and 2 dots. So 1 dot is always the current directory you're in. 2 dots is actually how you move up levels. So we're in /home/Parrot right now. If we were to change that and wanted to go to just /home, you can do .. Now you can see we're in /home. And you can keep adding more and more of the .. that. So if I do CD to go home and do .. now you can see we're back in the primary root, the root of all of our directories. So that's how you kind of move among levels. And again, tab autocomplete works if you want to go into a directory, or anything like that. So if I do cdbo and hit tab, it'll finish it for me, and I can go into cd/boot. So let's go back to our home directory, clear the screen. I went over last time in our last video listing out your directories because we're going over bash RC and some of the aliases that I like to configure. But let's do another run through of that just so you can get a better understanding of it. ls is the equivalent of dir in Windows. So I can do ls and it'll list out any directories and files that I may have in here. But you don't see any hidden files. Now in Windows you can do In PowerShell, it's dir-force. In command line, I believe, is dir/A, if I'm not mistaken, or /H for hidden. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that is how you would view them in there. In Parrot or in Linux, -A will show you all files or all hidden files and regular files. And then you can do -L to list them out as opposed to having them in the view that we just saw. You can list them and it will show the owner of the file, the group that owns the file, and or directory, as well as the permissions that are assigned to it, which always go owner, group, everyone else. So read, write, execute is right there, and later on we can get into changing permissions. But for now, those are how you view the permissions assigned to any directory. And you can always add more to your options. You don't have to keep, you don't have to do like -L, -A, or do -L, then that, or one or the other. You can combine them. So you can do LA, and that'll list all. You can also do ls-lha, as we saw in the bash RC, and what I like to do. And now all of your directory sizes and file sizes are human readable, to where you can see kilobytes, megabytes, and if I had anything that was gigs, you would see gigs as well. So that's a good overall view of how to list what you can see, directories, files, things of that nature, and how you can view hidden files. Now, let's follow up on that, and let's do a little bit of how to, if you need help within Linux. So all of your commands, well, I can't say all, but generally most of your commands have a help or man page or both. So we're going to use Nmap. Again, this is security, so why not use a security tool? So if we do nmap-h, we can actually see the help file that's built into Nmap, and it's built into the script of it. So it'll tell you how the command should be utilized, so your usage, so Nmap, any scan types, options, and then your target, as well as a brief overview of target specifications, host discovery, scan techniques, port specifications, so the list goes on. And we can go into a little bit more on Nmap later on, but that's how you would view the help. You can also always, you can usually do a double dash with help and write out the entire help command, and it'll do the same thing. Now, that's all well and good, but what if you want better visibility into how things are operating and what to do? You can also do Nmap, which is the man page, and a lot of times this will give you what you would find on the tool's website. So as long as it's not like a GitHub script or something like that, if it's an actual tool that's well developed and well maintained, they usually come with a man page or a manual page, and in there you can go through, you get the description of how it's, what it is, how it's supposed to be used, more examples and things of that nature, as well as some, sometimes they'll show you output templates and things like that. Now to get out of this, as you can see, you either hit H for help or Q to quit. So we'll quit that right now. Next, so that's how you do help and get help when you're running certain commands. Next, I want to go over how to locate files or find files. I have a tendency to use locate, and it's not the best. It's kind of quick and dirty, as it will find all locations where a word exists within the file. So, or not within the file contents, but within the file name. So if I do locate nmap, we're gonna get a lot. Now, as you can see here, even if like TS is before it, but there's nmap or unmap, so it'll show everything going down the line. And yeah, that's all cool, and it's a way you can find different things. Like I said, I tend to use it, and then you can grep and pull out what you need. But if you're just trying, if you know you have a command installed and you just need to know where it is, you can do where is nmap. And what this will do is this will show you the location of the binary, the location of the source, and if there's a man page, it will show you the location of that man page. So where is very useful in that aspect and in that regard. to show you where the different things are. Now, if you want to see the location of binaries that are in the path variable, so if we do print env and we print our environment, we can see the path right here and how our path is set up. So it'll pull binaries and things like that from these variables. So home parrot.local bin, snap bin, user sandbox, the list goes on. Well, we want to see which of those variables in our path nmap is going to be pulled from. So if you do which nmap, there you go. Nmap is going to be in user bin nmap, and that would be how you find that. So that's just a brief overview of some of the more basic features of Linux. And again, keep in mind we'll get more and more advanced. I just want to make sure everybody that's following along and watching these videos has a good understanding of how to use the more basic features for now, and that is because you're doing an injustice to yourself if you jump into, especially the security world, and just start trying to use things like Metasploit or Empire or Fern Wi-Fi Cracker or Wi-Fi or any of the countless tools that are out there. You're really doing an injustice to yourself if you don't understand the underlying methods that things work. And that same goes for an operating system. If you don't understand how to do certain things, you're going to spend a whole heck of a lot of time on Googling, and you're going to not really understand what you're doing. This way, you're getting an overview of how to use the basics of the operating system, and then from there, we can get into using the tools. So again, I hope this video finds you well. I hope you're staying healthy, and if you need to, feel free. I have my information as far as where you can find me on Discord and Twitter. I will also add in that the Security Blue Team and Security Red Team Discord channels that are in the bottom of this, they are great resources for great people. We are a community that not only offers courses and CTFs, but we give you the ability to learn and grow with no judgment. We take anybody from beginner to advanced to expert, whatever you think you may be, and are always willing to help. So again, please, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to send me a message or leave a comment down bottom. But other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy following along in these tutorials.